look, it's another Genesis. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Sorry, I got a cough drop in my mouth. I discovered a long time ago that when it comes to allergy season, one of the things that helps my allergies quite a bit is cough drops. At any rate, so we're going to dive into this Genesis here. This is the second to last of the job lot that I bought. The last one was interesting. This one I am not super hopeful for, to be perfectly honest. It is dirty, and when I flip the port open, as is my standard procedure, I don't see any creepy crawlies inside. I do see some hair, and it may just be a few down in the cartridge port. This was sold, again, not working. No particular reason why listed, just Sega Genesis, not working. This is, I'm not sure which model this is because the metal extends all the way over, so it could be model VA2 Model 1, could be Model 2, not sure yet. But we're going to dig into it and see what we can find out about it. As always with these things, the screws are a little dirty. As always with these things, you know, you never know until you get inside of one what you're looking at. This video will probably be, I started to say this video, hopefully it'll be pretty quick, or will probably be pretty quick, but you know, so far, every one of these I've touched has just been a proverbial nightmare. So I can look at the AV port already. It was pretty rough. Definitely doesn't. Well, I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great either. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to go ahead and get this out. We're just going to go ahead and get this out because I can see quite a bit of pet hairs and things like that inside. Oh my lord! Yep. Yep. The dust bunnies are real. They are real. Other than the dust, though, other than the dust and the scuffs and the scratches, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look terrible so far. Like I said, other than the dust, which is prolific. There's a lot of dust in here. Doesn't seem to be quite as. Doesn't seem to be the mice nest that the last one had in it. Or, at least if it is, it's underneath the metal, which, you know, is what it is. That's interesting. This piece of metal here has quite a bend on it. I said this one doesn't look like it's been opened before. Maybe it has. We'll see. Let's see what we got when we get in here. Screws in this. Yeah, somebody's been into this before. I can tell because the screw layout is odd. Not necessarily bad, just odd. They used the right length of screws. They just used them in an odd order. I guess is the way that I would say this. So let's see. Let's lift him up. Well. Okay. Other than the dust, see any creepy crawlies. Give me 1 second. Yes, I know. Don't bother saying it. You shouldn't vacuum board. Yeah. You shouldn't, but we're going to. So a couple of interesting things. I've never seen this before. These caps here I've never seen these caps like this before. I'm trying to read the name on them. CHLSI? Never seen that before. Sorry, there was another hair. Never seen those caps before. And that's what all of these are. That is very interesting. I've never seen that before. Cool. Standard. As far as the chip layout, so this is a VA1, PCBD MD2 VA1 USA board. It's got some interesting things on it. Some interesting things. There's a 6800 chip. That's interesting. Usually on your VA1s, usually on your, pretty much all your chips, this is down here. Just taking a look around. This is an interesting layout. This is an interesting board. This is an interesting VA1. Like I said, I've not seen one quite like this before. This is a completely different VA1 layout than I've seen. So we're going to take these guys right here off, set them aside, lift this board up. Interesting. I'm not going to go nuts on that because this is all going to go straight in the bathwater. Straight in the bathwater with him. A board, on the other hand, I'm going to grab some paper towels, and I think I've got another VA1 laying around. I'd like to set them side by side and compare, because this is a different layout. This is a different VA1, and I'd like to compare that. I'd like to show you that. Also, the LED is bent. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if I can get him up here to you. He's laid over, which is very interesting. Tell you what, before we go, I think this was a pet owner. I think. Again, I don't know. I know. Don't vacuum the board. It's very bad for the board. You shouldn't vacuum the board. Don't ever vacuum the board. Let me explain this to you, okay? I don't care. It already doesn't work, and there's not much on one of these I can't fix, so I'm vacuuming the board. When it's this dirty, there was some liquid in here. I don't know if you guys can see that either. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. And see if you guys, there was some liquid right in here, and it's pretty much all in this area. Definitely some liquid that was not flux. The rest of that just looks like standard dirt. Yeah, but these pins right here we definitely had water on them. I say water, some sort of liquid. This up here has been hot. Look at how this is discolored right here. Is it discoloration? So that is not flux. That is heat. Has done that right there. This whole area right around in this area. That's very interesting. It takes quite a bit of heat to put this aluminum heat, to put these pins in. This heat sink is held on by two metal pins. I don't know if you guys can see them in here, and it takes quite a bit of heat to get those to set. But I've never seen the board burned. I'll tell you what. Let me pause this for a second and pull the macro lens, and I'll get this up there where you guys can take a good look at it. Okay, let me get up here where you guys can see this nice and clear. You see that burning on that board, that discoloration? So what I find interesting about this, you guys got to understand, when I do one of these shots like this, I'm bringing the board up close. I've got the camera inverted, so up is up, or up is down and down is up for me, so it's a little hard. You see these burning in these traces right here? And all around in this area, that is very, very, very interesting to me. I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that, or why it is like that. That is very, very, very interesting to me. The liquid damage, I wanted you guys to kind of see it up close and personal. You see that right there? That is definitely something wet. You can kind of see it all up in this area here, in the right light. And it's kind of got down all in this area. It's like sticky. See, it was kind of up in these resistors right up in here. I wonder if this capacitor's leaked out. Certainly kind of what it looks like, huh? This capacitor's leaked. Possible. These are these, by the way, these are these weird capacitors. Let me flip one up on the edge. Never seen those before on a Genesis Model 2. I've never seen them on the Genesis period. It's always Rubicons and Nichicons. That's very interesting. That's what these are back here. This is a Rubicon chip. Not all of these are. All the rest of these are all these Chudulushi, whatever these guys are. Interesting. That burn spot is really interesting. And if you look at the edges of this board, see if I can find it for you. that heat staining, if you follow this trace, like you can look up here in this corner, right here, and you can see this liquidy stuff. And it's kind of all up in this corner, and it comes all the way down, but that heat staining, some of that might be flux. There's no way Flux did that. That's very interesting. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Let me stick my wide angle lens back on. Just taking an up close look at some stuff for you guys. I see the same heat, the burning look, all in this area, and there's something has been here. Okay, something's definitely been there. But I see the same heat burning look all over the back, all over this area right up here. That's really interesting. That's really interesting to me. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to set him down. Let me get a power cord and a video cord. Let me see if this guy works. And I'll throw the regular lens back on so you guys can see. Give me 1 second. Alright guys, got everything ready to go. We're going to plug this up. And see what happens. Let me get my... Come on. Gotta put on the right input. Check my audio cables. I got video for a second, but I didn't get any audio. Come on. Okay, so I got interesting. So I don't have any audio that way. So what's interesting is I only have audio out of one channel. If the game's playing, but it's garbled, my connector is very wobbly. Oh, that's hot. That is hot, hot, hot. That is already very, very, very hot. I mean, it's not quite too hot to touch. There's a definite amount of heat coming off of this guy. Like a definite amount. I'm going to let him run. I'm going to flip this over. I want to pull some readings with it running. Dead. Okay. I'm going to pull some readings with this thing running. I'm very curious. So on our input, 12 volts in, 4.975 out. 11.3 making it to the chip. So that means that our chip is definitely working. But I'll tell you what, like that aluminum block is getting toasty. Very toasty. I would, if I had to wager, it's probably 100 degrees already, give or take. Okay, that chip's slightly warm to the touch. You got some bulging capacitors. Yeah, this Sega chip here is warm. warmer than I'd really like it to be. And I'll tell you what, oh yeah, she's getting really exceptionally hot right now. Yeah, I don't know if that 7805 is on its way out or not, but the very first thing that I want to do is switch that out, without question. So here are the problems as they present themselves at present. So we've got audio on only one channel. Our power connector appears to be fine at this point. Our 7805 our 7805 chip is exceedingly hot, excessively hot. We've got a couple of bulging capacitors. I am worried about those, but I'm going to say right now I'm not worried about them. So the method to... Sorry, I'm getting a couple of toothbrushes out. My online best service toothbrush kit. $20 on Amazon for, I don't know, it was 200 toothbrushes. Something silly. So the method of our operation here, the method that we're going to attack this is, we're going to leave the capacitors alone. I am concerned that we've had a leak down here, or here, or maybe both. I am concerned about that. I don't see any evidence yet of any other leaks yet. Not saying we haven't had any, I just don't see any yet. So method of operation here is I'm going to reflow all of the connections on the AV port and the power port just because we're there. I'm going to replace the 7805 and I'm going to clean this board up, top and bottom. All right. I'm going to speed through the cleaning because you guys have seen that a million times, and it's just isopropyl in a toothbrush. So bear with me. Let me flip over and grab some paper towels, and I will get to scrubbing this guy down. Okay, that's not the cleanest I've ever made a board. I wasn't really going for spotless and all the rest of that right now. I was going for more functionally clean so that I could work on it. First thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to desolder this 7805 chip here. And we're going to pull him out and get him all swapped over. I'll tell you what, we're going to be doing some, I've got a new exhaust fan. I'll find out if it's too loud. I do quite a bit of soldering, and there is no doubt in my mind that, you know, listen, I'm not foolish, and you shouldn't be either. Soldering, especially the fumes from leaded solder, especially, are really bad for you. They can cause all kinds of very, 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 very serious health problems. Things that you don't want, guys. So, you know, every chance you get to protect your body, your lungs, your health, you should take advantage of it. You know, I know there's a lot of guys that don't. I'm not using that. I'm not using. Okay. Here's what I will tell you. I've always ran one. You guys just didn't know it. I had a low-powered one sitting over the corner. I have upgraded. Aha. That's why it won't come out. That one's not ready. Maybe now he is. Let's see. That was the one right there. Got him. That is the standard T3D TA7805S chip that all of these came with. Standard. I've never seen. That's the same 7805 that they've always used. Say used in every single one of these. They run pretty warm, notoriously. You guys will have to let me know, by the way, if this soldering extractor is too loud. If it is, we will try something else that is more conducive. You guys are going to be the ones to have to let me know. I do see a whole lot of guys not put thermal compound on their chips. Is it needed? Well, you know, honestly, is it needed? Probably not. However, this is kind of where I stand in indifference to that. You know, is it needed? Well, probably not. However, it costs next to nothing, literally next to nothing, to do this. You're talking about a drop of thermal compound in the grand scheme of things. Literally a drop. What could it possibly hurt? How are you saving? Explain to me how you are saving money. This tube, what is this, 14 grams? 20 gram tube of MX4. I have used this, I've had this now for over a year. I have done Xboxes, I have done multiple, and when I say Xboxes, every Xbox I get, I redo the thermal compound on every single one. And I've, you know, not counting just my own, that I, you know, clean up my Xbox Ones and One X's and, you know, 360s. Whenever I take a 360 out of service, I always give it a good healthy clean. Not counting my 10 Xboxes, not counting the 20 Xboxes that I have worked on in the past year, 6 months. Not counting the PlayStations, not counting the Nintendos, not counting anything else, not even counting the computers. You know, this has lasted over a year for me. You tell me how you cannot make money. Go ahead, I'll wait while you tell me how it is not cost effective for you to just do the right thing and apply a little bit of thermal compound. I'll wait. I will wait while you tell me how you can't afford to do it. Because you can. And anybody that says they can't is a scumbag. Sorry, they just are. You can't afford it. It's not too much money. It's a good investment for you and the customer. it's a good investment for you and the customer. Will it hurt anything to have it or not have it? No. Will it change the performance? You know, theoretically, sure. Theoretically, yes, it will. You know, absolutely. You know, will it change it a bunch? I don't know. You know, but I can tell you right now that it will change the performance to one degree or another. Because you are promoting increased thermal conductivity between your chip and its heat spreader. So of course you are going to get better thermal conductivity and therefore better performance out of it and longer life, and it's going to run cooler. Of course you are. Anybody that says any different is wrong. I mean, are we talking about, you know, it's going to make the difference between, you know, your console that, you know, runs at 80 degrees Celsius, you know, is it going to bring it down to 50 degrees? No. But it might lower it 10 degrees. It might lower it 5 degrees, but in my book, for what it costs me, you know, even it cost me pennies, literally pennies, to do each one of these, as far as the thermal compound goes, you know. And so for those pennies and a little bit of safety net for you guys and for my own consoles, why would I not do it? It doesn't take anything away from me. It doesn't hurt me in any way. So, you know, it's one of those, I should do it. Anybody that you buy from should do it, and if they don't, you shouldn't buy from them. And that's where I stand on it. So I'm just giving an up-close look. Make sure I didn't have any, don't have any bridges anywhere. That all looks pretty good. I'm not concerned about any of the rest of that at all. What I am going to do is I'm going to straighten up just a bit. I'm going to throw away this soaked paper towel. Turn this guy off. And I'm going to set my board down. Lay this guy out, flip my mat back over. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm really working hard on keeping my brand new mat. I've gone out of my way now to keep it clean. Which I prefer a clean work area anyway. Things can get really messy when you're messing with these consoles, and you know you can end up having just a huge mess all over the place. That's to be expected. You know, parts you take off and you put back in the whole 9 yards and everything. But you know, listen, if you can clean it up, you should. Let's see what we got. Okay, so I still have mono audio. Let me pull this cable up here, see if I have stereo. Okay, I do have stereo audio back, so well, let me double check. Nope, I don't. I only have mono audio. My picture is back for the most part. The picture does look pretty good. It's not terrible. $7805 is staying cooler. A lot cooler. Our processor's running cooler. 6800 never gets warm anyway. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to let this guy run for a minute and step away. And I'm just going to let him run for a few minutes. I want to see if this 78S05 now gets warm. Because if it does, it's going to be indicative of a problem elsewhere on our board that we want to address. So I'll pause this video and I'll step away. I'll come back probably in 5 or 10 minutes and check. Alright guys, welcome back. So I did a little digging around on Sega 16 forum, and here's what I found out. First off, before I get into that, okay, she's warm, but she is nowhere near as warm as it was. My Genesis chip, my Sega chip right here in the middle is nice and cool. I don't see anything else. This is still warm. And when I say warm, it's warmer than I'd really like it to be. I am curious. I wonder how many amps this thing's drawing. Let's find out, shall we? Let's come over here to amps. I know you don't like that. Just bear with me. Let's do red guy in here. Let's put our solder over there before it accidentally shorts the board out. Let's flip our yellow to DC amperage. Let's flip this board over, preferably without shorting anything out. I want to see what our current draw is on this. See if we see what kind of amperage we're pulling. Didn't like that at all. Reset it. That reset it for sure. Did not like that at all. So we may have. No, she returns. Okay, let's go about it a different way. Let's try here. She does not like that at all. There's no way that thing's pulling 6 amps. It says it's pulling 6 amps. There's no way it's pulling 6 amps. Okay, I'll tell you how I can tell. We'll do this the smart way. I have a kilowatt meter down here underneath my desk. Let me flip him over to amperage. And let's unhook this guy. So right now, without it connected, I'm pulling 0.46 of an amp. Let's plug him back up. Turn him on. .3 of an amp. 0.3 of an amp is what it's pulling. It certainly didn't like trying to find out the amp draw on that. It really did not enjoy that at all. Well, that's interesting. Now my screen was frozen for a second. Let's throw a different game in, shall we? Let's throw an NBA Jam. Put Sonic up. Whoops. I'd be interested to pull the oscilloscope out and see what's going on with this. So, in digging around online in Sega Forum 16, what I found out was that it's CHHSI brand capacitors are the really bad ones, which makes perfect sense because, like I said, I've never heard of them before. Starting to get a little bit of warmth now out of this running our NBA Jam. Okay, that's actually getting hot to the touch. Now, that's interesting. I can tell you what's going on here. I can tell you just looking at it what's going on here. Our capacitors are not able to keep up with this. And that's why she's running so hot. That's why. Because our capacitors are not supplying the necessary current that they need to be supplying. And that is creating a giant problem for us. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause this video right here. I'm going to let this thing cool down for tonight. Tomorrow morning I'm going to come in and we're going to replace all these capacitors here. We're going to get some good capacitors on it. Make sure they're not leaking. Our clock's running cool-ish. But this is no joke, seriously getting hot. Hot enough to concern me. Hot enough that I would almost put a fan on it if it were mine. Tell you what, give me a second. Let me see if I can find a temperature probe. All right, let's scan this thing and see what it comes up with. 127. 125. 115. 100. Says it's about 125 degrees. 130. 127. I'd say it's pretty accurate. It's every bit that warm. Top of it's only reading 101. .131 on the back's the highest I've recorded. Yeah, I'd say it's probably fairly accurate. It might be a half a degree off, give or take. Sorry. I think that might be being caused, like I said, by the capacitors just not being able to keep up. Perhaps. Because the board, I mean, the board's still not clean. Don't get me wrong, it's still dirty. But it no longer, it's first off, it's not sitting in the case. It's not sitting in the case. It's not overheating. Our 78SO5 should take all that heat and more. I wonder what the bottom of this board's reading. Curious now. Bottom of our board's reading 107. Bottom of our board's reading about 110. Which is hot. What is that in Celsius? It's about 43 degrees Celsius. So I mean, it's not outrageous. It's warmer than I'd want. I'd leave this thing sitting in heat soaking overnight, but I don't think I'm going to. I'd leave it because I'm more concerned about these capacitors, these cheap brand capacitors, than I am anything else. So tomorrow we'll get these things swapped out. Yeah, she's toasty. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna call this for the night. Just not for any reason. The picture seems to be back. Everything seems to be working okay. But if I move this too much, we start getting all sorts of weird, jittery things. I still only have mono audio. I don't have stereo audio. Let me rephrase that. I only have one channel of audio outputting. I should have dual. That's probably down to something here. I know it's not my cord. I know that for sure this time. Not because I've tested it on this console, but because I just used it a little bit ago on a different console, and I had dual channel audio output on it. So tomorrow we will get this thing. We're even getting heat in some of these resistors. I mean, it's not a bunch. It's not a bunch. Our EM caps are not hot. But I mean, there's things we can do to definitely bring the temperature down on this guy. There's definitely things we can do, and we're gonna do, because that's warmer than I'd really like it to be. So at any rate, let me go get in bed and all that stuff. Get a good night's sleep. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll recap this thing. It won't take any time. I probably won't. I'll probably do a high speed. See, look at that. That's a weird marking on this. Anyway, sorry. The more I look, the more I notice things on these. At any rate, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll finish cleaning this guy up real good. We'll get all the plastics and everything cleaned up, and we'll figure out what's going on with this heat. It just feels like it's getting hotter. It is marginally. Yeah, I mean we're up to in the mid 130s, which is a lot hotter than I'd say it probably needs to be. So yeah, tomorrow, like I said, I'll address a bunch of these problems, and we'll see about getting him all squared away so we no longer have these problems. And we'll go from there, guys. So I'll see you here in a few minutes. Alright guys, welcome back and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get everything ready, go to high speed. I'm going to remove all these caps at once and replace them all at once. I'm going to be using the Tech Wiki from Console 5. If you don't go to the website, you don't know who they are, definitely go to console5.com. Those guys are amazing. They'll be able to tell you everything you want to know about your console. Great website. They've got every part in the world. Definitely go check them out. Go to high speed. We'll get all these removed, and we'll put them all back in. All right? Alright guys, let me turn him off. Sorry, I'm going through straightening all my capacitors. You guys know how I feel about my capacitors being crooked. Drives me up the wall, it's a pet peeve. So we've got all our capacitors put back in. Using a little help from console 5. Just to remember where everything was supposed to go. And we're gonna hook this guy back up. We gave him a quick wipe down, just on the bottom side of the board. After we replaced everything, we'll do a quick wipe down on the top side as well. I'm gonna end up replacing this this LED, not because I think it needs it. Matter of fact, I know it doesn't need it, but the reason I'm going to replace it is just because we're going to be here. I'm going to put a red one back in it. Nothing fancy on this console. Nothing fancy this time. We're going to fire this guy back up once I find out where my cord dropped off to. And once I find, there she is. Fire it back up and make sure we didn't screw anything up, which has been known to happen before, by the way, if you're new to the channel. Reset button still works really well. So I've got NBA Jam in. I could have tossed Sonic in, but I guess that is what it is. We may toss Sonic in real quick just to be, yeah, because, tell you what, the picture's a little bit crisper than it was before. It didn't have a terrible picture, just wasn't necessarily great. Let me toss Sonic in real quick and see what we get. Nothing. There we go. Apparently I just didn't insert the cartridge all the way. Do it volume. Do I have full channel audio? I do indeed. Dual channel audio is back. That's great. So one of the problems we were having was that this console was getting very, very, very excessively warm. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause the video for a few minutes. I'm gonna let this thing run for about 20 or 30 minutes or so, and we're gonna check the temperature on it and see how it's faring, see how it's coming out. And, while I'm here, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and replace this LED. So we weren't gonna do anything fancy, and we're not. This, in case you didn't know, this LED goes on this board is a 3mm LED. Make sure you have your polarity correct on your LED. Both before you insert it and before you solder it. just triple check and make sure that that polarity is 100% correct, because if it's not, you are going to, your LED best case scenario is just not going to work. Worst case scenario, not only will it not work, it will end up burning itself out instantly, at which point you have defeated your purpose. Even though I can read the symbol, even though I can clearly see it, and even though I've done 115 of these, I still am going to take the time to just double check, just in case this is, I don't know, I double check it just out of force of habit, and it's the habit that you guys should be in too, is double checking every component you put in. Everyone. Whether it's the first time you've ever replaced it or the 100th time, it's a good habit to be in, to check all of your components. Just to triple, quadruple check, and make sure that everything that you're going to hook up on it is good to go and is proper. Alright, let me plug these wires back up. We're going to give him a little bit of a heat soak test over here. Just let him burn in. I say burn in. Burn in is a term we use in a lot of different industries. That just means we're going to let it run for a little bit, and then we'll come back and check it and do some tests to make sure that everything is coming up to temperature properly, not getting too hot, not nothing's leaking or blowing up or catching fire or smoking or anything like that. And that's called a burn-in test, right? Where we just run everything in for the first time. Even though I know the board physically works, we're just going to test. We're just going to test all of our changes and make sure everything is good to go. So, without further ado, I'm going to fire this guy back up. And I'm going to pause the video here for a second. I'll be right back. Give this about 15-20 minutes. Alright guys, to do a good solid burn in, I ran Sonic for probably 30 minutes. I'm running NBA Jam now, and as you guys can see, we're down to about 102. This thing's been running for a while. 102 is kind of what I'd expect. That's not horribly hot. It's a little bit warm. Got a little bit of heat coming out of our Sega processor. Everything else seems nice and cool though. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. I do have proper video. I've got proper audio. This console's, I'm going to say, 100% repaired and operational. The only fault that we really had with it, I did go ahead, by the way, and do a test on this 7805, the original one. It was on its way out, and that's just simply, here's what I think happened. Okay, I think at some point somebody gave this thing more than the 10 volts that it asked for, and when I say more than 10, plus or minus 1 volt, so 11 and a half is fine. 12 might be pushing it. I think somebody gave this more power, because the 7805 will take quite a bit, and it'll knock it out, knock it down to what it's supposed to be, up to a limit. But the more voltage you send into it, the hotter it's going to run. And I think that is what originally led to this. All the capacitors, by the way, nice and cool, no heat coming off of anything. None. I mean, when I say none, there's obviously some heat coming off our 7805, our heat sink right here, obviously. But I mean, I could hold on to that. Like I said, she's warm, but it's nothing detrimental, nothing, that's gonna be too hot or too excessive or damage this in any way. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and call this guy repaired. I'm going to go, I've got the plastics soaking in warm water over there and soap. I'm going to pause this video, we'll round those guys up, clean them up, and then come back over and reassemble this. Alright guys, welcome back. So we pulled the parts out of the wash and give them a light run over dry. We're going to set them aside, wipe them down one at a time, and reassemble this Genesis. As I always try to mention in my videos, how do I go about washing these, cleaning these up? Go to your sink, take your plastic parts, metal parts too if you want. Be careful though with your metal parts because your metal parts can and will rust up when they're wet. So take them to your sink, put a good healthy amount of, I use Dawn dish soap. I would assume any dish soap should get the job done just fine. I also add probably a cup or so of not isopropyl. Give me a second, my brain will work. Hydrogen peroxide in my bath, in my plastics bath. And the hydrogen peroxide just additionally serves to kill any bacteria, anything like that. And it has the extra benefit of helping to remove, especially in whites and grays, remove any free bromides on the surface. It doesn't really lighten it up like a retro bright process would. However, it definitely helps some, or at least it has in my experience, to take some of the yellowing. It's faint. It's almost unnoticeable. But it can help with that, and it also can help with smells. So if you get a console that has been in a smoker home or something like that, and not passing judgment on anybody in any way, but if you get a console that's been in a home where the people have smoked inside the home, a lot of times they can have a nicotine smell, smoke smell to them. The hydrogen peroxide can help to clear some of that up, which is always a good thing. So on our metals, I did not wash our metals this time. What we're going to do instead is douse them with some isopropyl and just give them a good wipe down, because they were in good shape other than just being dusty, and all they needed is just the dust wiped off of them. You could vacuum this up, you could do a mill, you could brush it off. I don't recommend, anytime you're dealing with dust, I don't recommend just brushing it, because what you end up with is spreading all that dust in the air that you're breathing. And not that there's, I guess in some rare instance somewhere, there's been a disease transmitted through dust in the air, and I'm sure that's possible, but any dust that's been sitting in here, you don't know if it came from a barn, you don't know anything about it, and it's just better. Protect your lungs, protect your life. Rinse it down, soak it down, or wipe it down. Try to keep the dust to an absolute minimum. So we're going to drop him back in. Do not forget this piece, okay? This is the separator that just keeps the board from making contact with the metal, and also provides your support for your cartridge connector. So installing board, really nice and simple. Don't force these boards. So what you have here, let me take them back out. What you've got here is you've got these two pins that it must fit over. You've got your cartridge connector that must go down, and then you've got this pin here, which is pretty tough to see, but there's a little plastic pin right here, and it's got to fit inside this hole. And if you force it, you can snap this off. You can snap that guy off. One other pro tip, this little red cap right here that says do not remove, for the Sega CD add-on, it actually, if you want to do this properly, it installs upside down. It says do not remove, facing down. So when you're looking at the console, you shouldn't be able to see it, but if you are adding your 32X, because the top shell will sit on top of this, that way when you pull this off, you should be able to see from the bottom side up, do not remove. So do not remove, it faces towards the bottom of the board. Lower him back down, and then we're going to set this aside, and we're going to isopropyl and wipe down the top of our metal shielding. So what is the purpose of this metal shielding, and why should you leave it in place? So this is to block any electromagnetic interference. It's not heat shielding in any way. It's not to cause the console to overheat. It is to block electromagnetic interference from your TV, or from, anything coming into the console, or anything leaving the console and going back out. In simplest of terms, or I guess in simplest terms, that's what it does. In a slightly more complicated explanation, this is known as a Faraday cage. And a Faraday cage causes electricity, electromagnetism, and the sort to flow around the shell and be transmitted to a grounded source, versus going straight to a component, which is why this works so well, so that you don't get interference. This used to be a larger issue than it is anymore. In the grand scheme of things anymore, it's not a huge issue, but again, it can still cause some rather interesting things at your house. If you've ever noticed, you turn your microwave on, and your TV has a little static or flicker or something like that, which again used to be a larger problem than it is anymore. And that's because we've gained more knowledge in our ability to protect against electromagnetic interference. But that's all Faraday cage is. It forces electricity instead of going, and I say electricity, it does electricity, but electromagnetism specifically, electromagnetic fields, forces them to travel around the skin of this and be dissipated into ground. Now, if a Faraday cage does not have a path to ground, then it is not a Faraday cage. As an interesting side, the reason that if lightning strikes your car, you don't get shocked is not because your car has rubber tires. It is because your car, the metal skin of your car, is a Faraday cage. And so the electricity, if you were to get struck by lightning, or if your car were to get struck by lightning with you in it, will travel around the skin of the car, not through the metal. So we do know that, and this is one of those, I go off on a bit of a tangent. We do know that electricity, when it comes to the way that it conducts across a wire, or doesn't go through the center of the wire. Electricity travels along the skin of the wire. We know that, which is why we upsize our wire and blah blah blah. And anyway, that's a whole other conversation. I'll go off, like I said, on quite the tangent if you're not paying real close attention to me. So it is important, having said all of that, it is important to install and make sure you keep the metal cages in place. Now, going a slight step further than that, it is not as important as it used to be. Our shielding has gotten quite a bit less over time, or at least the way that we shield things. If you go and you look at a Xbox One, or and I say Xbox One, Xbox Series S, or PS5, the shielding on it has gotten a lot less, but a lot more complicated. When I say complicated, exactly what I mean is they shield specific parts, and they shield them in a very specific way, so that only the parts that they are trying to protect are protected, instead of protecting the entire board. And a lot of that has come down to connectivity, wireless connectivity. We want to allow certain things to pass in and out of the console, and if you put metal all the way around it, it can no longer do that. Now, let's wipe down the inside of this guy. I'm going to take him off. So the question right now is, why did you not remove all of this stuff before you washed it? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. It depends on how dirty things are inside. This was not inside, it was just dusty. It was very dusty, but it was just dusty. There was not a lot of gunk or filth or stuff like that inside of this. So, and there wasn't in the cartridge receiver slot thing there, so there was no need for me to completely remove that guy to get it clean. And that's what we were aiming for, was to get him clean, and I could do that without fully removing every single inch. Now, I could have removed the buttons, and I probably should have removed the buttons while I was over there, but I didn't, and I didn't because I couldn't see. It's still pretty early in the morning here, and because it's early in the morning, there's not a lot of lights on, and I couldn't be bothered to turn the light on in the house. I couldn't be bothered to turn the light on over the sink that was right beside me. Well, just never mind that. Okay, just never mind that. This top of this console could definitely use some of our plastic polish. In some spots. Overall, it's in pretty good condition. So I don't think I'm going to this time, because overall, like I said, it's in pretty good. It looked a lot worse originally than it does now. I'd say now it's in pretty good shape. I'm not super concerned about it. Pay attention when you if you take these buttons back out. Pay attention to not just which side is power and which side is reset, but these buttons will actually put in upside down. They will go so that reset, instead of facing it down towards the console, instead of being read properly, are upside down, and you don't want that if you can avoid it. Mainly, you don't want it because it will annoy you. It's incorrect, and you will end up having to take it back out. And remember, we are dealing with old plastic here, very old plastic, and old plastics get brittle and crack and break, and you don't want that. So we try to avoid, as much as possible, anything that will stress it beyond, put any sort of stress or anything like that on it. We don't want to stress the console. We don't want to stress the plastics. I will say this, a little tip that I learned a long time ago and has served me well, is a hair dryer, not a hot air rework station, but a hair dryer itself will go a long way with stubborn plastics and brittle plastics. Just putting a little bit of heat into it can make all the difference in the world between you breaking a piece and not breaking a piece. And a hair dryer, just heating it up, and I say heating it up, just warming it up just a little bit, can really, really, really help to keep you from breaking things, which is important. We don't want to break anything if we can help it. We've left a little piece of paper towel behind. So I actually started recording this video. Well, let me back up. I've been trying to stick to a pretty rigorous schedule of uploading videos for you guys, and I recorded one last week. And then I've had some other things going on, some life problems going on, and could not finish the editing on it. I just simply didn't have time, and couldn't get around to it. So yesterday morning, very early, around 4 o'clock in the morning, I got up and I finished the edit on it, and started processing it. I use Shotcut, is the program I use for my video editing. Free software. It's a little bit cumbersome to get started with, but it's a great program overall. Once you really learn how to use it, it's really handy. Anyway, so I went ahead and finished it up and started the export process on it. Something's not happy, or I'm just not doing this correctly. I'm not sure which yet. It's interesting. Go. Anyway, and apparently I processed it a little bit different, and when I say a little bit different, in a significantly higher quality than I normally do. And what used to be in my first couple of videos a 3 or 4 gigabyte total video, that then I realized I was making some errors, and why the video quality. One of the reasons the video quality was so bad is because I was compressing it so bad. So I changed that. I changed the way I was compressing it up. and that ballooned the files to 30 or 40 gigabytes. Apparently, this one, I changed the file type on and ended up at 140 gigabytes, which is ginormous, and it took literally all day yesterday and night, and it just finished processing this morning. And so I am currently uploading that video, which you will have seen, of course, before you see this video. But I'm trying to, and I've got a couple more videos that I need to go ahead and process and upload to them. I'll get to those pretty soon. We've got a long weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend and all that stuff. So that video will be out. You will have already seen that before you hear about it. That was quite the process. I'm still learning about how to do all these things. I'm still learning about it, guys. So bear with me because I am no professional. I am amateur at best, but I'm a quick learner. I'm a quick study. So at least I think I am. My mommy told me I was. So at any rate, I'll grab my Genesis controller, wherever I stuffed him down at. I will see about firing this guy up. Let's plug up a controller, preferably into layer 1. And I'll tell you what, let me give me 1 second. Let me pause this. I'm going to flip the camera down so you guys can see the game. All right. Let's see what comes up on our screen here. What a great picture. Good audio. Sorry, I'm just testing the different functions. Of our controller. Do a reset button test. That seems to be working properly. Normally I go through this kind of separately once I get the console working. I don't really show this, but I figured now's a good time. We'll show this. I use Sonic. I use Sonic mainly because this is the only Sonic game that I have. But also because I know what this should look like. Get a little bit of Sega's notorious blast processing here. Was it Sega that did blast processing? I don't remember. There we go. Cool. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video and this console rebuild. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I know this was a little bit higher speed than what we're used to, but we've done several Genesis here lately, and you know, there's no reason to rehash the same things that we keep going over. This particular console, it was reported as not working. We did find some interesting things in it, and I think the root cause of it not working was probably a faulty 7805, or one that was close to failing, is what I believe to be the original problem with this console. I had some interesting dark spots on around our board. We replaced that. We replaced all the capacitors on it. We did find that this one has the CHHSI capacitors from the factory, which was interesting. It's another thing on the Genesis I haven't seen. So when you guys hear me talk about the huge variation in build for Sega consoles, you'll understand. You know, as we go through these and do more of them, you see that for yourself. At any rate, glossing over all of that, I do appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can see more videos like this. Thanks for coming to hang out with me. Leave a comment down below, guys. Tell me what console you'd like to see me build next. I don't care what it is. If I've got it, we'll pull it off the shelf. If I don't have it, I'll buy it, and we'll go through it and rebuild one. If you've got questions about a console, you wanna, you know, maybe yours isn't working right and you're not sure how to go about repairing it, again, drop me a comment, shoot me an email, let me know, and I'll help you out any way I can. At any rate, I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you guys on the next video.